We're getting all caught up on Margie Taylor Greene, who's giving heck to the company, the lady who discovered 23andMe, which scrapes your genetics, then gives you your family tree. And she wants to buy the company back, but she went totally woke. So Margie Taylor Greene runs her through it, especially on the trans issue. We have more on her response to AI. We've got some really inconvenient truths that the Democrats are denying. Here's Mr. Higgins.
Ms. Wojcicki, sorry, apologize. You co-founded 23andMe in 2006 and took the company public in 2021. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And this is all about DNA, which is we would call science. Is that right?
It was really about how individuals can learn about their own genetic information.
But DNA and the study of it is science. Is that correct?
It's about learning about their family, their ancestry, science, and their health risks.
Okay, so it's science. Now, in 2001, you reposted Dr. Raven, the science maven, who reposted my post of a sign that I kept outside of my office that said there are two genders, male and female. Trust the science. And the attack on this, which you reposted, so you must have agreed with them, was as a scientist with a transgender parent, I need you to sit down. You don't know the science or the history. You trust the science. Science draws a difference between sex at birth and gender identity. The systematic incidentalization of gender is a product of colonization. What does colonization have to do with gender?
They're going to say that it's culturally put on there, but the lady dodges the question. I just like that Margie Taylor Greene is telling a scientist about science because, yes, but X and Y chromosomes, you can just measure things biology-wise. It's very clear. And then gender, they say, is a social construct, although gender is itself a cultural, social construct, the idea of letting people have gender. I just thought that was an interesting conversation for her to weigh in that deep. Here's more. This is the newest on the Trump wanting to use having conflict with federal judges. Just in, federal judge rejects California's request, that was at Gavin Newsom's request, to immediately block Trump from using Marines and National Guard to enforce the law, according to CNN. So this is the ongoing battle that Trump has with judges, and they thought they'd get an easy one over in California, and California sided with Trump and said they will not block his use of National Guard and the Marines at the border. Now, back to that 23andMe interrogation. Here's Brandon Gill, and I love him because he really
here's a tweet that you guys put.
Gets these smart people to defy themselves using their own logic. He did this again. Watch this.
Here's a tweet that you guys put out in June of 2021. I just want to ask you, what does E mean as a pronoun?
That's the second from the last one. They protect the use of the pronoun E. I identify as E.
It's E.
To be honest, I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know what M means as a pronoun?
I'm also not sure.
Okay. Don't you think it's important to know what these mean? You guys are in this post, you wrote, or somebody on your comms team wrote that using the correct pronouns impacts trans people's health, can reduce the risk of depression and suicide. That's a pretty serious claim. It seems like if you're going to demand people use these pronouns, you would know what they mean, right?
Mm-hmm. I delegate. 23andMe had a lot of people. We had six,
right.
7.
You're CEO though, right?
I was CEO, but it doesn't mean I can oversee every single post.
Well, this is a very...
So she herself is guilty because she doesn't know what those pronouns mean. She could not identify them to him what they mean. That she is risking the health of the trans people that she's claiming to post. Her company is claiming to post for. She's an activist, a pro-choice activist, and that she's causing them to commit suicide because she's so insensitive about their pronouns. Now, I didn't make that standard. She did. These are her words. By her own standard, she is a transphobe because she doesn't, and that was their post, that if you don't know those things, then you're causing damage. So this is really about Democrats kind of it really is kind of a brain damage situation. They defy their own principles all the time. So this is regarding the riots, this is a Mexican-owned business. And this is what the Democrat hard leftists did to their business, rioted it. name of being sensitive to illegals. Look at them walking out with all the beer you want. There's guys going in, going out. It's a complete car wreck over there. We're going to go inside and see the business owner. There he is, the guy with the gloves. You got screwed. Who did you vote for? That's all I want to know. Did you vote for a Democrat? Because this is what you voted for. And this shows their racial sensitivity to, this is a Mexican American. And because of their, what they call peaceful protests in the last video, Hillary Clinton called it a peaceful protest. Now here's Stephen A. Smith on this all just being a completely losing issue for Democrats.
I know how smart he is. I know how caring he is. But in the same breath, he might be on the wrong side of this issue in terms of how he's electing. I know how smart he is. I know how caring he is. But in the same breath, he might be on the wrong side of this issue in terms of how he's electing to handle it. Because in the end, this is a guy that's leaving the gubernatorial seat in California. People are looking at him as a presidential candidate in 2028. This ain't gonna win it for him. This ain't gonna win it for him. Not when we look at the state of California and its state income taxes. Not when we look at the cost of living. Not when we look at crime in the streets. Not when we look at homelessness. Not when we look at the border issue. Not when we look at a whole bunch of things. This ain't.
Not when we look at his hair.
The issue for him to fall on his sword over, in my opinion. Nevertheless, he seems hell-bent on doing so. I don't know if he can win this issue. I don't know if Gavin Newsom has won any issue lately. And to be so smart and to be so sharp, but to find himself on the wrong side of issues time and time again when it comes to the state of California in the eyes of people, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's difficult to imagine him running on open borders and riots and Trump not being able to stop it. But I do disagree with Stephen A. Smith when he says you're so sharp and you're so smart. He's not sharp and he's not smart. Even if you're there to win just as a Democrat at using any means necessary, if winning meant abandoning, protecting illegal criminals from ICE agents, is that a winning issue? How smart are you? Not very. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene in her response to David Sachs, the smart guy, over the AI argument. Hi, David. That's David Sachs. I think the AI discussion is one of the most important issues we can plan for context of my background and conceptual framework. As a business owner in construction, I am pro-business and understand the labor issues and needs better than most. As a representative of the U.S. House, I believe protecting federalism is essential, constitutional in the American way. Now, this was the rub, and I agree with her on this, and I'm a huge supporter of AI, huge fan of it, world's most powerful tool. We should all be using it. However, the idea that you would give AI a carve out at the government level in the big, beautiful bill and say no laws or lawsuits can be brought against AI is so foolish, and I'm instantly suspect of the whole thought of it. And I love that she's the one that brought this up. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene, once again, who's supposed to be kind of oafish and, from the South. She's this Georgia peach. And she went after the first lady over science, and now she's going after David Sachs, one of the smartest AI billionaires there are, over the argument of defending states' rights. I'll continue. Every innovative industry in our country's history has had to rise under each state's ability to regulate and make laws on behalf of their citizens. Well said. Tying our states' hands behind their back for 10 years with a moratorium freezing states' ability to regulate and make laws is the opposite of federalism and makes us no different than China with a big government power grab. Allowing states to regulate and make laws will preserve the state's abilities to choose their path. True. Currently on the federal level, Congress has not developed a federal regulatory plan for AI yet. We would be preemptively destroying federalism for 10 years without a plan. Also true. We know governors and states are ranked on job creation and economic stats. By protecting federalism, some states will compete to be the most AI friendly and will make decisions to recruit AI tech companies with varieties of incentives. And I'm just going to skip down here to the bottom. Poison pills kill great bills. This is one where she was willing to vote against it, and so would I be. Republicans must address AI separately with sincere, diligent efforts instead of the typical tricks of shoving a 19-year federalism moratorium in a big 1,000-page bill. I want to see this done right to be good for all, and we agree. Thank you guys for sticking around in the Quad Club. Let me know in the chat below if you think, are you ready for the AI provision, the carve out to be pulled out of the big, beautiful bill so we can get that thing passed and get some more soldiers, some more ICE agents on the border? Let me know what you think in the chat below. I'm Doug in Exile.